That was the Senate and, beg your pardon, the National Assembly's retreat on the constitutional amendment that they're going to be, you're hoping to conclude that in 2018. I believe that's when they say they're hoping to conclude it. But joining us to discuss it right now is Senator Ali Abdullahi, who is Chairman Senate Committee on Media and Publicity. You're welcome to Sunrise Daily.
Thank you very much. My pleasure for having me.
Well, every national, or is it every assembly, always attempts to amend the Constitution. Is the Constitution so bad that every time we always have to keep amending it? Why do we go on this journey all the time?
Well, thank you very much. I think we have to understand our journey this far. Nigeria itself is, evolving. And if you look back 100 years and see the journey through which we come, I remember those days when you do history, they'll be telling you constitutional development in Nigeria from the period of the colonial administration coming down and so on and so forth. So I think it has to do with our evolution as a people and as a country. And the truth of the matter is it shows clearly that we seek a perfect union, which by whatever means can never happen because perfection belongs only to God. But as a country, we are hoping and always working to move towards that particular framework that will guarantee us our heart desires of a very stable country that is peaceful, that is prosperous, and that is happy. And I think that is why continuously we will continue to get this until we are able to get the right thing we are all interested in.
Now, some of the areas where you're hoping to cover in this amendment is local government administration, distributable pool account, authorization of expenditure, political parties and electoral matters, as always, because it would seem that we always amend the Electoral Act all the time, financial autonomy of state legislatures, status of the Federal Capital Territory, which is an interesting one, nomination of ministers and commissioners, the legislature, the judiciary, devolution of powers, and local government change of name. You want to change the name of the local governments? Yeah,
well, there were some local government, I think, like, is it Fikpo or so? They just asked that the name should be, there was a mistake.
Okay.
And it's just to correct the mistake, because, it's in the Constitution, so you have to correct it. And that was why they went through the process of getting the letter for that to happen.
What about, let's talk about this distributable pool account. What is it about?
Well, the point here is this, it fell under the strengthening of the local government system. And what it's saying is, if the federation account, the entire fund that is coming into the federation account at the federal level, that is the distributable, pool account. And here, what it's saying is that I think we are now trying to learn from the past mistakes where we had very large pool of money and we just went in and shared everything, and here we are today almost, suffering as a nation. So I think what the National Assembly is trying to do here is to say that when funds are available, we should reserve some percentage, I think 10% in this case. And that 10% is what will now be kept until about after 5 years before we go back to it again to see is there a need for us to, kind of share that amount of money. I think this is to provide a kind of cushion away from what we experienced where, of course, when we had so much money we shared and then everybody is now crying because the funds are no longer there.
Why are they not? Well, it's commendable in some areas, but then we also see that somehow, as a country, we have found a way to, save money. The excess crude savings account is supposed to be one. Excess crude account is not the savings account, it's just the excess crude account. And there's also the sovereign wealth fund. Are in these areas what we should be looking at?
Yes.
The excess crude account, for instance, is not legal or it's not known to law as
well, those are the issues we are now trying to address. Rather than have, the bickering going back and forth as far as this issue of excess funds are concerned. That is why we are saying at all times, let's introduce a sense of frugality into our ways of doing things as a country. That we should always try to have some reservation so that at the end of the day, after 5 years, we'll look back again and see you know, where are we? What can we do? So that there is that cushion. So, and I think this is to give it all the constitutional backing.
For the local government autonomy, which is one area that, you know, there's been a lot of focus of recent, what is the feedback that you're getting from your constituents, you know, in that regard?
Well, I think it's a very welcome development as far as I'm concerned, and as far as the National Assembly is concerned. We are all extremely happy that this is coming. And as always, if you go back to see, the National Assembly has always been supportive. But what normally happens is when you go back to the same grassroots, where you see the members of the state houses of assembly rejecting it because, of course, you know, the interplay. And I think this is where the issues are. And
I don't know the interplay. What's the interplay?
The interplay of their relationship with the state government. This is where the issues come. Because, for example, in the last time, we are saying that, look, the state houses of assembly should have a sense of autonomy to be able to do what they need to do. That way, even their funding should be given to them first-line charge so that nobody is going to dictate what happened. That is the beauty of democracy. But some state houses of assembly even rejected that. So that tells you the interplay. And I think that is the interesting dynamic in our political arrangement.
So are they saying yes to that now? Or that's
well, I think the consensus we are building now is showing that even the state governors, many of them are beginning to see reason why we should strengthen those layers of governance. And it's in our overall interest to do that, because going forward, if you look at what we are experiencing, you will come to agree with me that even the issue of employment, which you are trying to, you know, I think the last speaker was, you took in on that, it will be really something that can be taken care of, because we have 774 local governments, for God's sake. If each of these 774 local governments are going to be able to create, you know, the avenues for our youth to have things to do, just taking 100, when you multiply, you can see what the multiplier effect is going to be, because those are development centers. And so I think all of us as stakeholders at various levels must begin to see that there is a good relationship, very direct relationship between the various challenges we are facing now as a country, which at any rate are happening at the local level, and they only migrate into affect those who are living in the so-called city center. I think the earlier we recognize that, the better for us. And the best way we can tackle that is to make sure that that level of government is strengthened, is given the right to have a good capacity, because many speakers will tell you, oh, they don't have the capacity. How can they have the capacity when they've not been working? There is a utility issue. When you've not been using something, even if you have a skill, if you've not been using that skill, after some time you lose the skill.
I'm sure if you talk to them, I mean, those are the local government, those who have been fortunate enough to be elected and stay in office for a while, they're going to tell you a very different story. Just last week, we interviewed the publicity secretary of Algon at the national level, and he says that, you know, what is and what people say about local government are two very different things.
Yeah.
But, you know, there have been protests. I think the National Union of Teachers have been very, very, you know, unhappy about their attempts to make local government autonomous.
No, I don't think they were unhappy. They were only raising a concern. And the concern is that they were very clear. We've had interface with the NLC, with the president of the, you know, NUT, with the president of Nolge itself, and all the various stakeholders at that level. We've had interface with them. First, the interface when we went for the retreat in Lagos, and when we came back to Abuja the following week, they were there. I was in that meeting. What is important is that we need to understand what their fears are. They are not, and I challenge anybody to contradict this. They are not against strengthening the local government or giving local government autonomy. But what they are saying clearly is that they have fears about payment of teacher salary, because teachers at that level constitute the largest workforce. And so they are concerned that if this autonomy is granted, what happens to payment of teacher salary? Given that in the past we've had experiences where teachers went without salary as a result of similar issues. So the point is, based on that fears, we've interfaced with them, and in the present arrangement we are making, we are introducing amendment to guarantee the fact that teacher salaries will be paid by direct source deduction. And I think they are in agreement with that. As at the time we had this interface, they are totally in agreement with that, saying that we should guarantee that payment of teacher salary. And at any rate, payment of teacher salary is both by the state government and the local government. So we have taken care of that fears, and to that extent, we believe the autonomy that is being talked about for local government is on the way, because all the stakeholders are in support of it. The Nigeria Labour Congress, the ALGOM, even I listened to the issues he raised here, and I don't think from what they are saying, in fact, even the communique, after they met, they are not against it. So, but the point they are making is that there must be certain guarantees to make sure that at the end of the day, everybody is comfortable with the new arrangement that will come in place.